I'm sorry, Optimus.
Yes, you are.
Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh review. Today, let's take a look at the Hasbro Transformers Studio Series Hot Rod. Now, I don't do a lot of Transformers reviews on the channel because, even though I love the property, especially those first two seasons of G1, there's just guys out there doing way better reviews. I get Transformers out of the box in front of the camera and it's just like, oh, it's so... And to be honest with you, I was originally gonna skip on the movie figures. But my best good friends, Brett and Dustin, got Hot Rod in hand. They just talked him up too much. I couldn't pass on them. Plus, I was at Walmart the other day, and I just happened to run into, Cyclonus, and there wasn't anything else to buy, so I picked them up, and oh, so good. When I saw Hot Rod at Walmart, I thought, well, I might as well jump in. Looking at the package, it's bigger than what I'm used to. I buy War for Cybertron stuff. This is Studio Series. So to me, this is like, oh, big box, smaller figure. You see most of what you're getting. Nice picture of Hot Rod, Transformers the movie, 86. He's number 4. On the side, that same picture of Hot Rod trying to get... On the back, promotional shots of Hot Rod in car mode. The background, all these warnings down here. Don't put them in your mouth. Hot Rod lights the darkest hour. On the other side, bigger Hot Rod, Studio Series 86. On the top, marketing gimmick window to shine some light. Lights the darkest hour. On the bottom, more legalese, includes figure, 7 accessories, removable backdrop, and instructions. The most important part of any Transformers packaging, the instructions. But, let's get this open, see what's going on here. Oh, well, that's different. It's folded up in there. Guess we're going through the top. Hot Rod, well, at least until he got Optimus killed, was the man. Now, in my later years, I identify a lot more with Cup. Where did the years go? There's the backdrop if you want to display him that way, I guess. Of course. The instructions. Nothing's gonna stand in my way. Not tonight. Oh, and overall, I love the figure, which when it comes to Transformers, I'm not a big alt mode guy. I'm in it for the robots, the personalities. Even the transformation isn't as complicated as I've found other War for Cybertron figures, or, well, Studio Series figures. Saying that, even though I have a lot of Transformers, I haven't opened a lot. But the few Siege and Earthrise figures I have opened, this Studio Series seems to turn it up a notch. It's kind of a more premium feel to it. And you've already seen it. With Transformers, with cartoon-type figures, you expect a little shininess or some smooth surfaces. And I love the overall sheen that covers the entire body. Doesn't matter what color plastic, it's still just reflecting the same amount of light. Usually when it comes to light reflection, I say that it can lose detail. Like looking at the face, sometimes it shines out. But again, given this property, I don't mind at all. In fact, it's a plus. The robot mode almost has a simplicity to it, but again, that works in its favor when you think of the cartoons. You can still see hinges here and there and parts that you can look at and, oh, that pops off, that comes here, that is there. But looking at it mostly from the front, which is the biggie for me, it looks almost seamless. It looks like one consistent piece instead of a bunch of pieces shoved together. And that's even accentuated by the lack of paint apps. Again, most of the figures I usually look at, I think, oh, it needs a paint wash, bring out some detail, some shadowing, something. Again, the plain plastic feel of most of the figure, there is some paint for the flames, the Autobot symbol, there's some orange here and there, but, oh, and then silver. Again, it works in its favor. I didn't mind all the weathering on the initial Siege figures, but as time has gone on, I've grown to like the plain look. And the articulation in robot mode is more than adequate. There's not an ab crunch, which is okay, you can kind of fake it down at the hips, but the big thing to watch out for, again, not a bad thing, you just have to tweak your posing a bit, is to watch out for the knee coming forward, and it's easy to get it kind of screwbally. Got to keep that lower joint pushed back all the way and then use that. Sure, it still kicks forward, but when it comes to Transformers, articulation usually pulls double duty. It's part of the transformation too. I guess the biggie for me is the ankles, and you have some in and out, some rocker ankle, and you do have forward and back. Not the prettiest, coming from pure action figure standpoint. whenever you stand them up and you're trying to find that balance, you're more likely to get the knees kicking forward than it is for the ankles because of how far the hinge for the ankles is forward. But again, you just have to adjust your brain a bit, make sure it rocks right there instead of at the knee. Going over articulation, there is a ball joint at the head, can look up and can look slightly down. A little bit of tilt. And then of course that swivels. A few things get in the way of the shoulder, but you can bring it up with a hinge. Then it rotates around. You're going to run into that. You can get full movement out of it. Slide forward and back, runs into the chest piece, runs into the back piece. Single hinge at the elbow comes up past 90. Wrist rotates and you have opening fingers. Rotation at the waist. This may be my favorite point of articulation simply because of how well it hides it. Hinge at the hip comes forward, goes back, get the arm out of the way because it goes all the way out. There's even some swivel at the thigh under there. Single knee joint comes up plenty. If you want to go further, there is a lower joint that we talked about a minute ago. You can tweak that a bit, but it's, I was going to say metal running into metal because it's a robot, but it's plastic on plastic. And then down at the ankle, forward and back, slight rocker ankle. And like I said, the articulation pulls double duty. There's also transformation, which we will now stumble through because, again, I'm not the greatest at this. Swing the back piece with the spoiler down. Go ahead and give that a turn around. The instructions say to push this down now, but I find, oh well, the first time I did it, this wanted to run into this a lot. So most of the way through the transformation, I kept it out a bit. This coming back, you can see that all works together, not a problem. Lift that up, pull the fake chest out. That'll rotate on that point, and then bring the hood down. Bring it down, turn the head around, and flip it down inside the body. The whole assembly comes back over. That'll bring you to 2 pins right here. You have to snap together. Flip this back up again. Turn the leg assembly around. We'll bring them out to here. Flip the lower legs out, flip them out even more. Whenever you bring these out, oh, that's tight. There's a pin right there. Make sure that that snaps together. The first time I tried the transformation, I didn't have those snapped and the wheels were turned in. Bring the feet up inside the leg. Then we're gonna flip the lower leg up over the top of the leg. Again, it gets a bit tricky. Don't use the knee hinge, use that bottom hinge. You have to move it around to get this around, but once you do, even if you did use the knee a bit, squeeze and it'll flatten out. Then what you opened at the bottom of the leg, you'll shut that around to engulf the top of the leg, both sides. Then the instructions say to bring them together, and my limited experience in the past with Transformers would tell me that there's a peg or a peg hole in here, but there's not. They just kind of sit beside each other until you bring the back half down again. Make sure this is flat, this will go in between, and there are these peg holes for that peg. But at the same time, you're trying to put the leg up on that right there, and then that will peg in almost automatically. Come back around to the front. We are dropping the hood again. Make sure the arms are straight at the elbow, and then these flaps flip out. This turns all the way around on both sides. And then you come up under with the arms. That peg almost just falls right into the arm. That makes plugging the 2 halves of the tailpipes together much easier. I missed these the first time. You'll see it in a picture or two later. But these 2 pieces flip out, streamline the headlights just a bit, and then bring the hood over and snap that. Start pushing everything, make sure it's all snapped together, and then flip these 2 outer pieces to cover up the hands. The spoiler seems a little bit large from what I remember of the movie, and the overall shape of the card isn't 100% accurate, but it definitely evokes Hot Rod. There's the Autobot symbol, the flames, the yellow, the orange, the red, the blue. Yeah, no mistaking. Best of all, oops, nearly pushed it right off the end of my table. For accessories, Hot Rod comes with 2 blasters. They're nearly the same, but you can see some differences in the sculpt. Open the fist and then put the gun in the hand, close the fist around it. It's more pegged in, even with the fingers open. It's not gonna fall out, but it's a cool look. It works really well. But if you're not using them, you can use these flat pegs on each side, pick which way it goes, and then plug them into the back here. And both of them hide kind of behind the spoiler. It does add some to the back, but if you're displaying them on the shelf like this, you're keeping the weapons with them. That's a cool thing. Also comes with a buzzsaw blade. You remember in the movie when he used this thing. So of course there's a gimmick where this pops up and you can swing the hand around, close it back around it, and then that plugs right onto there. Up! backup. But again, if you want to store that, the 2 pegs on the other side of the guns, there's 2 slots in the buzzsaw, and then that's stored away too. You can use that same setup on the car, the hood, the top, either way. There are these 2 blast effects. Those are for the exhaust pops. If you want to plug them in there and have some kind of blast, that looks cool. Or in car mode, you stick them on the tail pops and he's really hot rodding it. Comes with the matrix. This is a nice little sculpt. And then on top of that's a nice application of silver and gold or copper, bronze, something. The back is hollow, so you can get some light piping effect if you put it just right to the light. And the cool thing about Hot Rod's fingers being articulated, you can get him out of the way, hook the matrix on his thumb, and then close the hand around it. Easy peasy, he's holding the matrix. There's also this blast effect. There's 2 clips, and at first I thought it went up and over, but it actually goes side to side through the handles. Then he's opening the matrix, just a neat effect. And hell, it may display on the shelf like this. But then there's also a couple of features built into the figure itself, like the rotating hand for the buzzsaw on the left side. You do that on the right. I always go backwards with that. You can rotate it around, and then you have the welder, you know, to put cup back together. I dig how fast you can do that too. Just flip it around, bring it back, boom. And then the top of the head flips open, and you can bring his goggles, his visor, down over his eyes. And again, quick and easy, looks beautiful in the down position. And if you don't like that look, just flip it back, get in there. Back into the head and never acknowledge its existence again. Hot Rod stands 5.5 inches to the top of his head and then about 6 to the top of the spoiler, which throws me off because in hand he doesn't feel that small, but then you compare him to Springer or Cyclonus and he's on the small side, which is okay, that fits, although I feel like we need a Studio Series Springer. And he may seem a little small next to the Siege Megatron and Optimus too, but I don't know, it works out. It feels appropriate. So at the end of the day, even though I was unsure I wanted to get the Studio Series figures from the Transformers movie, Hot Rod just kicks my ass over onto the side of, yep, I'm gonna buy them all, I guess. Such a good figure, both in look and dynamic posing. He's got a little bit of backpack, some chunk on the back of his legs, but otherwise, most of the poses you put him into, he looks like a good robot action figure. And while the transformation has a few hiccups here and there, it's still very intuitive. Now that I've done it a couple times, I can remember how to do it again, and that hasn't happened in a long time. Well, actually, again, Dustin sent me Jazz the other day, and I figured it out for the most part, except for that crazy rotating waist piece. And when I opened Cyclonus, that one's fairly easy too. It almost feels like, well, it definitely feels like that the Transformers line is evolving as it goes, which is not a bad thing. I mean, you just get better and better and better and better toys. That's bad for our wallets, but good for the shelf. If you enjoyed the review, comment, like, subscribe. Much love to the plus. If you're interested in seeing videos early or just in a position to help out the channel, patreon.com. But wherever you may be watching this, I'll always catch you on the Fwoosh. Now don't get me wrong, I can't just go, but I don't need the instructions for the most part. I can get most of the way there. There's also a good chance that I'll never transform this back into alt mode, into the car, especially with how damn good this robot mode looks. Just get a pose and boom.